Hey there, Michael Leckie and Mark Bowden here with our Career Ask Me Anything, where we're doing our special election season, at least in the U.S. here and other places, our hashtag politics of leadership section of this Career Ask Me Anything, where we're looking at questions that are arising out of the current political situation in a number of countries, in particular ones that we deal with, the U.S., the U.K., and in Canada, and giving you our thoughts on how it applies to leadership and organizations in general. So here's one. Let's come in. What lessons can corporate executives learn from recent presidential leadership styles and communication strategies? Well, Mark, when I think leadership style and communication strategy, I think Mark Bowden. So what do you think? What lessons can corporate executives learn from the recent presidential leadership styles and communication strategies?
Well, it's interesting, that word recent, because there used to be a saying, still probably exists, that a week is a long time in politics, and an hour seems to be a very long time in politics these days. And so what comes to mind for me is we've had this recent situation where, Biden's the guy, the Democratic Party, like, this is our guy, there's nothing wrong with him, it's fantastic, nothing can be changed, it's all too late now. And then an hour later, it's like, yeah, no, he's gone. Here's the note, and we've got, and this one's in, new Harris is in now. So look, and what that causes to his opposition to Trump is change. And quick change. And how are you going to respond to this new opposition, this new candidate? So what's to be learned from this? You need to be adaptable. You can't be a one-note player. You can't have your voice have one note. You can't have one note in your strategy, because things will change fast around you, and you need to be adaptable for that. I'm not sure at this point whether Trump has been adaptable enough for this new player on the scene. But from what I've heard, from what I'm seeing, it may well have thrown him slightly off balance there, and that's the nature of change. So be prepared to be adaptable, be prepared to create a new strategy really fast, and be prepared for a number of notes, a number of styles, a number of voices that you can bring out at the same time. You got to stay on brand. You can't change so much that people go, hey, who have I got? Now, at the same time, when it comes to elections, the only audience that really matters is the one that has the most power, the one that can get you elected, which isn't often the mass of the grassroots who will love anything that the party put in front of them. It's those undecided players. So how can you adapt to fit most the people that have the most power? Michael, you're a master in change. Have you seen that change as well? And what do you think around that?
Well, you're a beautiful flatterer, Mark. A couple of things come to mind for me. One is simply that it's not too late to change your mind ever. You can make a pivot. And in fact, oftentimes, if you're flip-flopping constantly, that's what it's seen as. But Biden changed his mind. The Democratic Party changed their mind and moved forward. And it's turned out to be, at least according to the polls right now, we'll see what happens in the elections, a bit of a masterstroke of saying, you know what, we're changing direction, because they had a country who, by all accounts, when you look at what the polls are saying, was just looking for something new. And Trump came in, he was something new, and now he's not. And so it's never too late to change your mind and make a pivot and move forward. A second thing is, I'd be careful if I'm a leader on focusing on others and picking out enemies to fight against, because things can change very, very quickly in a corporation. And if your value is based upon I'm not the other person, and that other person steps aside, moves down, or makes a change, like you said, your value dissipates. And I think the third thing that leaders can learn from this is that generally a leader is, unless it's a brand new company you're founding, in the vast majority of cases, leaders are succeeding someone else, and they may very well be leaders from the inside. And it is absolutely okay to honor the past enough, but distinguish yourself from your predecessor, because you worked directly for the CEO of a company, or worked directly for your boss at whatever level they were, and worked with them and did what they wanted you to do, and were a good soldier and got stuff done and really drove their strategy. Doesn't mean it was your strategy. Doesn't mean it's how you do things. It doesn't mean that you're a replication of what came before. And so distinguishing yourself, as Kamala Harris is doing, figuring out and declaring who she is and what she stands for, and not being afraid. She's gotten, well, at least from Trump, she's gotten a fair amount of grief for one of her proposed policies around, taxing and tipping. And he said, well, that was my idea and I stole it. And she's like, you know what? It's an idea and I don't really care where it came from. I'm going for good ideas. And so that not doesn't make her look, I don't think, to most people as, oh, wow, well, if it's somebody else's good idea, you can't have it. She's like, no, good ideas can come from anywhere. I'm about getting things done for the American citizen. So you can distinguish yourself from what came before. So there's actually a lot of really interesting and good lessons to be learned just in that one political moment in the United States. Mark, any final thoughts on that to close this one out?
No, just that final thought is if you've got some questions, something you'd like us to talk about, whether it's how politics affects that business world, whether it's career, communication, michaelleckie.com/ask. Leave us your message there, leave us your request or anywhere around this video that you can post, and we'll get back to you on that via this video. See you all soon.